Welcome to Heartfelt with Julie Margerison, a space for honest stories, tender truths, and soul-deep conversations. I'm your host, Julie Margerison, and here we explore the questions that stir something real in us. Questions about joy, fear, healing, and the moments that shape who we are. Each episode is an invitation to slow down, go deeper, and hear the kind of stories that remind us we're not alone in this human experience. So wherever you are right now, thank you for being here. Let's begin.
Welcome. I'm so excited. I think I say that all the time, but I am very excited for all my guests. And Hayley is here to talk to us about what is happening in her world, and she's going to answer these 10 questions for Heartfelt with Julie Margerison podcast. So welcome, Hayley.
Thank you, Julie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, I've known Hayley. I just came across Hayley because I'm very much about I want everything lined up for where I live. And I was looking at buying a place in Gympie, and I didn't want to buy where their energy wasn't right. So I don't even know how I found out about you, Hayley, but I did. And so whenever I was looking on real estate, I would send Hayley the description and the name of the address and everything. And Hayley would go on and she'd actually look into whether the ley lines are right, if there was, I don't know, I'm going to let Hayley explain it. But I think I asked her 4 times before I actually found where we are now. And it was so beneficial. And then Hayley came and did a healing on my land where I am now. And I had some trees cut down, and Hayley helped me, prepare the tree to know it was going to be cut down. Anyway, there'll be more about Hayley sharing her stories of land healings on here. But I'm going to put my glasses on and talk a little bit about the amazingness of Hayley. It's like, oh my goodness, it's such I don't even know what the PhD she's done. So I will be asking you, Hayley. So Hayley holds a PhD in Metaphysical Humanistic Science and is an intuitive earth healer who previously worked as a naturopath, an acupuncturist, a hypnotherapist. These days, she spends time healing the land to create balance for the earth and the people and animals who live on it, and teaching people how to do the same. Hayley loves all discussions around frequency and raising our vibration. Wow, you are so meant to be on this podcast because that is exactly what I love to learn more and more about. So welcome, Hayley.
Thank you so much, Julie. This should be an interesting discussion.
Well, before we start, can you please give me an understanding of what metaphysical humanistic science is?
Sure. Yeah, I guess that's the long version of using the word metaphysics. We have physics, which is the science of seeing things, how they work, the action, the movement, etc. But metaphysics is more that unseen realm that we don't yet know enough about, the quantum mechanics, quantum physics. So, that goes into string theory, and it goes into what we call that spooky action. You know what I mean? So yes, anything that science hasn't yet been able to prove, but we can observe it and know that it's true, even though we don't understand it yet. So there's lots of things that fall into the category of metaphysics. So.
Wow. Woohoo. All that woohoo stuff out
Pretty
there.
much, yes. So, and it's an interesting term, because you do hear the woo-woo kind of words used, but all that really means is we don't have an explanation yet. it's real. We can observe it. We know it happens. It's repetitive and etc. But how do we explain it? How do we understand it? We don't yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, before we start on the questions, I would really love you to share about your process of land healings, because it's amazing for me, and I'm sure my audience would love to hear about it. So
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Julie. So land healing, it's really a process of finding, again, those unseen things, the energies that exist under the land. So ley lines, they can be positive or negative. I look for underground water, whether it's running or stagnant. I look for things like old earthquake lines or just earth shift lines. So for example, if there's been a landslide or even a cut and fill process or something like that that's disrupted the earth. So that's energy that can feel quite unstable. I also look for those big old grandmother trees that have been cut down long ago, the energy of those that are left behind, because that makes a big impact for the people who are living there now as well. And then finally, I look at EMF. So that's the man-made component of all of this energy work that we're looking for. So we don't sort of need to explain too much these days about EMF. Most people know what it is. Electromagnetic frequencies, comes out of power poles and mobile phone towers and all of these sorts of things. So it's a process of knowing how to find and then balance all of these so that you're living in a harmonious space. Because all of those things that I just mentioned are like a stress on the human system, and same with your animals and the plants as well. So plants will thrive better in a higher vibrational space. How do we make it higher vibrational? We harmonize it all. So we take the energy that's low, we do something to shift it to a higher frequency, and now you've got balance again. So anyone living over a balanced space is obviously going to be in better flow, going to be more harmonious, less stress on their system. So yeah.
And I just know a little bit. I know you put like crystals in the ground, like little crystals to help balance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is not new information. The concept of ley lines has been known for a long time. When you look at the major structures like the Giza pyramids or the cathedrals built throughout Europe, etc., they were all on crossing positive ley lines. So obviously the ancient people knew all about these and knew how to harness those energies and yeah, what to use them for, how to keep them in balance, etc. But then all of a sudden we sort of stopped doing that for a long time. And of recent times, it's had more of a resurgence. So then when people started to work with these energies, they used to use metal rods or copper rods. So if you had a ley line running through your property, they'd put copper rods either end, and that would sort of short circuit that energy. So that would make your place feel better, but essentially the neighbors are still swimming in that negative energy. And I always say to people, you don't want to be the best house in the worst street, because that's not a good space to be. You want to be the best house in a fantastic area. And so when we use crystals, which have their own frequency, their own high vibrational energy, and we put them in place in a way that matches or harmonizes or shifts that balance to raise that frequency, now you've got harmony all the way across, not only on your space, but even reaching out into the neighboring spaces as well. And I always like to say, could you imagine if the neighbors all around you did a land healing as well? I mean, the place would be super high vibrational. So yeah, I think the crystals are a beautiful, gentle way of working. They're also from the past because the earth provides them for us. But I think they're very much part of that future as well. And even our technology, our computers, our mobile phones, etc., they all use crystals in there to make them work. So yeah, it's not just relegated to the woo-woo field that we just talked about.
Stuff.
Yeah. We want to get rid of crystals, then say goodbye to your mobile phone and your computer. So yeah.
Wow. I've used crystals for a long time, but I'm so excited in the last 2 weeks. I actually now can actually feel the vibration and even feel the vibration in a tree. So it's like, it's all just new to me. And it's like, wow, you must feel that all the time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And when you talk about the vibration, excuse me, of crystals, there was an experiment done only of recent times where they measured just a small little clear quartz point crystal, and they got a reading of 786,000 hertz from this. That's like 100,000 times stronger than our energy or the Earth's baseline energy. So yeah, they're not just pretty rocks. There's some pretty strong, powerful energy in there.
Yeah, well, I was just using it for the pretty rocks, and what it said in the book was going to be good. So now to start to feel things, it's like something I'm really going to enjoy opening up and understanding. Now, all of what Hayley does and provides will be in the links below, okay? And I'm sure we'll talk about it more throughout the time. But there is one question that I'm a little bit intrigued about, and I wondered if you could answer that before we get right into it. But how do people go in apartments? Like,
Okay.
how do you, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So when people think of land healing, they often think of huge, big farms, and huge spaces like that. But I do just as much work with apartments or, little cabins or small homes on tiny little blocks as I do on big properties. So with apartments, it's quite multifactorial because you've not only got the land that the apartment is on, but then you've got all of those layers of people and energy surrounding you as well. So they can be quite intense places. And if anyone's energy sensitive, then yeah, for sure you'll be feeling that. So the crystals actually don't have to go in the ground. I like to put them in the ground because then it's almost like a set and forget process. But when you're working, let's say, level 10 on an apartment, then the crystals can literally just be placed around the apartment, because the ley line energy is just as strong at level 10 as it is at level 1 or the ground floor. People tend to think, oh, it's just the land that it impacts, but actually those energies go out to infinity. So often you are working on apartments, right up high, and just placing the crystals around, and that actually balances all the apartments above and below as well. So
great.
yeah.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing that, because I was trying to like work, how does that happen? Yeah. So thank you very much for that clarity. Okay, let's get into it. Is there a question that you'd like me to ask you first?
Oh, let's see. Let's go with why I do what I do.
Okay.
Because
why do you do what you do?
Yes, yeah, because it's been a bit of a journey, and a lot of people do sort of want to know, like, how did you get to be doing what you're doing? And as a child, I was born with what we call the clairvoyancy, so I could see what we're going to call the ghosty stuff, the other energies and things like that. So for me, that was all pretty normal. And gradually, when you get older, you realize, oh, not everyone else can see what you're seeing. Some people can, but most not. And so at the time when you're a child, you kind of just learn to ignore it, because what do you do about it? They don't really interact too much with you, and other people are paying no attention. So I went on to, I'm going to say, get a real job. I became a naturopath. My parents were very much into, healthy food, healthy ways of living, and all of that kind of thing. So I guess that is where the interest began from a physical health perspective. And so for me, from the age of about 16, I was always reading everything to do with energy, healing, how to be a better version of yourself. And I just didn't know how to work in that space. At 16, we're trying to go, what am I going to do when I grow up? But the books I'm reading are about these amazing mediums, or these super psychic people. And I just kind of thought, well, you have to be one of these, like almost magic people to do that. And so I just didn't see a way to be working in the field of energy, even though that was my passion. So I studied to be a naturopath and went on to do, acupuncture and kinesiology and hypnotherapy and all of those sort of modalities. And I really enjoyed it. I loved it, but my interest was always in the energy field still. That's what I was always reading in the background as my chosen thing. And so it just kind of evolved, I suppose, because when I was in clinic, there was a number of people who said to me that they'd had a land healing done on their property. And at the time, I had no idea what that was. But I noticed it correlated with them having really great and quick improvements with their health. And so it kind of got me curious. And I started to think, well, if this is impacting their health that way, then I want to know what it is. I'm a naturopath. It's my, career choice to help people get well. So I did eventually find someone who actually not only healed properties, but taught this as well. So her name was Maggie Landman, and she became my land healing teacher. And so Maggie came out to my property at that time, and she walked around and said, well, there's ley lines here, there's underground water, and put crystals in place. And didn't really understand it at the time, but that's why I decided, right, I'm going to go and enroll in a course and learn this. And so when she, took me around, and she doesn't dowse or use pendulums or anything like this. She teaches you how to find those with your energy, just as you were mentioning. Now you can feel the crystals and things. So, it's beautiful to be able to do this without relying on these external tools. So that's, that really sparked my interest. But at the time I was still in clinic, so I didn't do a lot with it for a while because, I still was helping people with their physical health and thinking, okay, I understand that, but I'm not a land healer, but time went on, and the more I started to look into it, the more I started to realize how our frequency is everything. Every single thing we do or think or say or eat, or it all affects our frequency. And that's what matters in the end. When we look at people who have things like cancer, their frequency is quite low. Now, there's so many different things that you could look at to go, let's pick up your frequency. And I say this too, because actually I had cancer when I was 34, and I had to take a deep dive and investigate all the things that could help to change what was going on in my energy field. And so yes, changed what I ate, changed the products I was using, changed, you name it. I did so much at the time and got well really, really quickly. So it really helped me to understand frequency and how important it is. And so eventually I decided, look, it's time to switch careers, because for one, I was kind of sick of sitting inside all day behind four walls and more or less repeating the same sort of thing. And I realized too, there's a lot of great practitioners out there, naturopaths, kinesiologists, you name it. So I decided, who's out there healing the land? And there was Maggie that I could find at the time, and really no one else. So I decided to join her and get out there and start to make a difference, because how I narrowed it down is I realized that if people are doing all of the things right, you're eating well, you're avoiding chemicals, you're minimizing your MF, you're sleeping well, you're doing all of the things, but you're going home and you're living over negative ley lines, underground running water, earthquake lines, and all of these are stressing your body for at least 8 hours a night, then how do you truly become well? It seems to me you're going to be constantly combating this stress somehow. So that's when I decided, okay, it's time to sort of shift and move into the space that I'm in now and start to help people from that perspective, because there's still plenty of great naturopaths you can go and see for other things. So
so your field is pretty unique.
It is really, because even people who work in the energy field and they do Reiki and they do all these sort of great things, they still contact me and say, can you do a land healing? Because I'm not sure what to do. And it's like, it is kind of a niche type area.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing that. That's so great. And give big insight for the audience to go, what the hell is land healing all about? What brings you joy?
For me, joy, I mean, there's probably many things, I suppose. I love to walk on the beach, I love to read, I love to do many things, but I'm going to say, when you ask that question, the first thing that really comes to mind is this: it's sharing information with people. It's that process of education. And when you learn something, you want to tell everybody. When you discover, hey, look, this is what happened, I created this, and etc. And you're just like, I want to share it and have other people understand and be able to take control of their life as well, and their frequency and their health and all that kind of thing. So I think that's what it really boils down to for me. If you ask me kind of what gives me a buzz, you know what I mean? It's that. It's seeing other people go, oh, wow, I get that. And now I can do something to help myself. So
And also you must feel the shift. You must feel the shift when you're actually doing your thing to what it felt like, and then it's buzzing,
Totally.
A good buzzing.
Exactly.
What fear do you have that that could be holding you back?
Yeah, I'm going to say this is an interesting one because I actually teach people how to overcome and move through their different fears so that they aren't holding people back. I also do a lot of what I call business readings for people, because for people, like you and I, our businesses are us. And so when business is not progressing well, we've got to look at, okay, what's going on with me so that I can shift that, get that into flow, because then you can attract the people who want what you have to offer. So I'm going to say every time I identify anything that I think, oh, maybe this is a challenge or a fear or something that's holding me back, I've got a process to work with it. It's called PAC, so it stands for Past Age Clearing and Healing. And so it can literally go right back and clear things from where they first started so that you don't have to stay in that process.
Mm.
And again, this is something, I've been using this process for maybe 16, 17 years or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so now I'm going to say there is no big overarching fear holding me back, because the minute I identify something, I work with it.
You're onto it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Mm.
Have you ever had a life-changing moment?
Yes, I have. As I said, I was diagnosed with cancer. I was only 34 at the time. And I went to a place called Coffs Harbour in New South Wales, and it was an integrative conference, which was for doctors, naturopaths, people in all sorts of medical and alternate fields. So I was there with a couple of girlfriends, but at the time, I'd only been diagnosed with cancer about a week before. So it was, and it was quite advanced as well. So it was I was in processing mode. And I was sitting in the conference for the day, and then we came out and we're walking through stalls and whatnot. And this fellow, I spotted him from a distance, and he looked at me, and he kind of looked me up and down, but it didn't feel like it was in a rude way or anything like that. And then he walked over to me, and he just said to me, "You've got a decision to make, and you're going to have to make it quickly." And at the time I was just stunned. I just kind of looked at him and I thought, who on earth are you? And yeah, and why aren't you minding your business, And anyway, I didn't even say anything. He just, basically said, you'll have to make it quickly, that you haven't got long to decide. And then he just walked off. I thought, okay, that's strange. And my first response actually was to get really annoyed. Who does he think he is? What, he's minding, he's in looking into my business, all this stuff. Anyway, and I went away. And that evening I was talking to my friends that we were staying together, and I said to them, "Oh, this is what this guy said." And both my girlfriends looked at me and they said, "I think you do have a decision to make, and you probably don't have long to make it." I'm like, "What? Not you too?" So anyway, I was just in complete rejection mode about this. But that night we went and had some dinner, and then we sat down to watch this movie, and it was actually about this fellow who was dying of an illness, and he befriended a young girl, and she taught him this wisdom, etc. And something in that, it just, I guess, softened me, or it clicked or something, and I just cried and cried and cried. And it was just like this huge outpouring, and I just went to bed, went to sleep, and I woke up in the morning and I felt like a completely different person. It was like,
Wow.
it was like during the night I'd made some sort of decision. And what that boiled down to when I sat and analyzed that later was that I don't think I really wanted to be here before that. Like many people eventually end up telling me now, it's just like, who picked Earth? Why am I here? I didn't choose this. And and I think I really had that underlying feeling myself, is I was different to my family. I was, different to many people. I mean, I'm seeing ghosts and all, it's just like, why am I here doing this? What's this all about? So that moment, something really changed. And I'm going to say, when I got up and I actually opened the curtains and looked out the window that morning, I was stunned. I had literally called my girlfriends and I went, "Come and have a look at this." And they came over and they looked out and they went, "What?" I'm like, "The colors, look at the colors. Like, everything's changed overnight." And they kind of looked at each other, looked at me, and they probably thought I was going absolutely crazy. And they said, "Looks the same to us." I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me. Yesterday, all those kind of shades of gray, they're gone."
Mm.
And so they said, okay, maybe you've made this decision. And I still wasn't really clear about that at the time. It was just, I just knew that I'd had this big outpouring of emotion, and then I'd woken up and the world looked different. Well, anyway, I went to the conference again the next day. And I did eventually, this fellow, I saw him from a distance and stood and looked at him. And again, he just kind of looked at me, and then he smiled and he nodded, as if like some sort of approval or something like this. And then he just, again, he turned and walked away. And I'm like, well, I want to talk to him. But I never saw him again. We still had another day or so of the conference to go, and I just never saw him again. So I don't know, people say to me, he was like your guardian angel. And I say, well, I guess in some ways, he was, because he was the trigger for that moment to change.
I wonder if he was on human, like if he was on Earth, if he was on the Earth side, or was he just your guardian angel there and only you saw him?
Yeah, he's funny because he looked out of place, because he wasn't even well dressed or anything. He was actually, quite daggy in his clothing and things like that. He just didn't actually look like he belonged there. Maybe that's why he caught me. I don't know why, but yeah, and just the fact that I never did see him again, it was interesting. But my health changed rapidly from that point, and I got well really quickly. So yeah, there's something about shifting that frequency really quickly.
Yeah, wow, that's just simply astounding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has there been a moment that you wish you could freeze in time?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to say it's actually almost like reverse of the story that I just told you. Once I got well from cancer, and as I said, I was already a naturopath at the time. And when I closed my clinic, I spent a few years just traveling around Australia and New Zealand holding health seminars, because I figured if I can teach people how not to get sick in the first place, rather than wait till you get sick, now find a naturopath, now try and undo all of this. So I thought I'll go out there and I'll just teach this. How do you not get sick in the first place? And so I used to hold these seminars of an evening and all around Australia. And so I'd been to Canberra a few times and held talks there. And then one day I was speaking at a conference in Brisbane. It was a huge conference. There's about 1,000 people there. And this fellow came up and he stopped me in the lobby and he said, look, you don't know me. And he said, but I just want to say thank you. And he said, you came to Canberra about 4 months ago and you held a seminar there. And I said, oh, yeah, I did. Yeah. And he said, you didn't know anything about me at the time. I didn't even come and speak to you. And he said, but I had cancer at the time. And he said, and I listened to everything you said. And he said, and I took it all on board. And I went away and I did all of these things. And he said, and I am absolutely 100% clear of cancer at this point. And I looked at the people near him. He's got his wife standing there. She's literally got tears rolling down her eyes. And he said, all I want to do is come and meet you and just say thank you. And I thought, wow. Yeah, we have no idea how we reach people. And that was one thing that made me just go, keep on going. When you've got something to share that can make a difference in people's lives, just keep on going. Because had he not have turned up to that conference, I would have never known this. And it made me start to go, wow, I wonder how many other people have had these amazing shifts just by following some fairly simple information that I shared. So never stop is, the motto, just always keep doing that. Because for him, I mean, potentially that's literally saved his life. So
that ripple effect is just amazing, isn't it?
Yes, because imagine how many people he's told and shared information with and who that's helped as well. So you can't fathom how far that could go.
It's beautiful. Do you have a trigger that you would like to share about?
Yeah. This is an interesting conversation, because to me, triggers, challenges, traumas, fears, all of those, they generally kind of go in the same sort of category. So usually it's just like, okay, I'm going to just, do a process around this. But what triggers me, there is one thing, to be honest, and I'm going to say it's whinging. It's when I hear people whinging, it's kind of like it grates. Now, I don't mean when people are upset and they're crying and all of these are normal outpourings of emotion that, that we should allow ourselves to do. But it's that continual just complaining and not doing anything. You know what I mean? It's a very low vibrational energy, and it's not beneficial to the person doing it. It's not beneficial to the person they're doing that to as well. So I guess when you work in the field of health and trauma and all of those sort of things, people are going to share their challenges. And that's one thing, and that's normal. We all have challenges, and we all sometimes need someone to talk to, and even to just offload so that we can feel better. But when I talk about the word whinging, it's when it's that repetitive, stuck in that pattern, and you're just retelling the same story over and over, but nothing's actually changing. When someone offers support or advice, and you don't do any of it, but you just keep on sort of saying the same thing. I do find that's a bit frustrating, because it's really hard to help someone when they're stuck in that pattern. But when they share and they say, I'm genuinely willing to make a shift to heal this challenge, then great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's that whinging, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh dear. If a genie jumped out of the bottle and granted you one wish, what would that be?
Do you know what I imagine would be really beautiful if you could have one change happen is if you could have food and products and all of these sorts of things that existed like they used to. These days, our food is so chemicalized and preserved and additives and colorings and all of these sorts of things. And the products that you use, you go to someone's bathroom or use a public space, and in the soap, you just think, this toxic, bright pink poison, you know what I mean? Like, all of these sorts of things, I think, it's not that I want to rewind it, but it's just move into a future where we're not so chemicalized. Yeah, because there's plenty of great foods and products and ways of growing and ways of making things that are not toxic for people. I would want more of that in the world.
Well, I hope the genie jumps out the bottle in front of you, Hayley, because
For
I
all of
would
us.
love that too. Yeah. And I'm sure, amazing how that would be for the earth.
Yeah. Because even when you look at photographs and think, home videos from like the 70s, and everyone was just slim and everyone looked fit and all of that kind of thing. And soap was just soap.
Yeah.
And these days, I mean, you can still be eating all those same wonderful things that people were eating in the 70s, but it doesn't have the same effect on your body anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is there something you've never said out loud, but you wish someone would ask you about?
I'm going to say I'm quite a private person in the sense that I like my space. I like my time. I like, this is one of the reasons we like to live in a bus as well. We're often just parked in a paddock in the middle of nowhere, and you look out and there's just cows or something. So I really value my sort of privacy in that sense. But I also think I'm very open to any kind of conversation. There's not something that I shy away from discussing. I think all discussions are valid. And so from that perspective, I really can't think of anything that I haven't said out loud that I wish that I have. I think part of living authentically, and I know that gets used a lot, people should live authentically, and it's become like, well, what does that really mean? And I think it's sort of being true to yourself. If I've got something to say, then I guess at this age, now that I'm in my 50s, I'm going to speak up and say that. So it's part of embracing who we are. I think when you're in your 20s and 30s and you're still learning to who you are and how you interact with the world and things like that, we often hold back. I don't want to upset that person, or we people please and things like that. But I think sometimes the older you get, the more you just go, you know what, I'm just going to be honest and truthful with people and say what I have to say. And if they don't like it, well, you know what I mean? As long as you're not intentionally, harming someone, or then, I think part of that challenge of living authentically is just to always just speak up and say. So I can't really think of anything that I haven't said that I would like to, but
that's good. Yeah. When was the last time that you truly felt seen, and has there been something in that moment that stayed with you?
Recently, actually, I took a trip with a group from Adelaide to Uluru, and it was a Lionsgate portal trip, through the outback. And so we were actually at Wilpena Pound, where Grid Point 44 crosses on the 8th of the 8th for the Lionsgate. And so there was a beautiful group of people, and we were in these four-wheel drive, like a convoy, and we'd go and stay at different places and do different things and meditation and all of this, and work our way up to Uluru, and that's where we finished the tour. But we had some challenges. Some things went haywire on the trip, and even our tour guide had to leave us at one point. And so I stepped into his place as the driver. And without him there with all of his information, I would start to go, okay, so we're heading to this place. I wonder what that's about. So I'd do some research about it so that when we get there, I can sort of share with the group, this is what he would have probably shared with you. And so I kind of stepped into that space as much as I could to keep the whole process flowing smoothly. And if we're going somewhere, I'm super curious. I'm going to look it up. I want to know all about it anyway. So I thought I'll just share this with the group. And so I kind of became, navigator, driver of one of the vehicles, person sharing all the information, etc. And it was really enjoyable. I loved the trip. And at the end, one of the ladies actually asked me if I had been paid as a tour guide on the trip. And I said to her, no, I'm actually a participant, just like you. And she went, oh, really? And she just sort of saw me in that role. And anyway, the people who organized the tour, who were on the trip as well, said to me afterwards, she said, thank you for everything you did and how you stepped in and filled those spaces and things. And she said, you're just so, she paused, and I was kind of waiting, like, what am I so? And then she went, capable. And I thought, capable, okay, all right, that's great. What a lovely thing to say to somebody. And yeah, she just said, yeah, whatever happened, you just went with it, and all of this sort of thing. And yeah, and I thought that was a really lovely moment, actually. And I'm going to own that word, capable.
Yeah, it gives me a lovely, warm, fuzzy feeling, isn't it? That's beautiful.
It was nice.
Yeah. If you could send one message back to your younger self, a message and not advice, what would that be?
Message, not advice.
Some people have said the advice, so you don't have to do message. You can do advice if you want.
Well, maybe mine's a combination of the two. I'm going to say hang in there, because it'll get better.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned earlier, I probably didn't really want to be here doing this earth journey. Like, I used to be one of those people who used to think, I don't recall picking this. Why would I pick this? And it's not that I had a bad childhood or anything like that. I mean, it was pretty, run of the mill as they go. But I just, it was almost like I felt like I came from some other planet. All these other people here just kind of weren't my people, and I'd landed in the wrong place or something. So I think it always felt foreign. And but especially with that experience that I shared earlier, where all of a sudden the world was colorful and everything again, things changed at that moment. And so things got better, and I'm quite happy to be here doing this journey, living this life. So I think the message would be just to hang in there, because it will get better.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. I tend to call myself round and most everyone else is square, because I kind of feel like I'm from a different planet. But as I get to know myself more, it's like there's some roundies. There's lots of roundies around.
There are. For sure.
Yeah. What does healing look like for you right now?
I would say this is a daily thing for me. As I mentioned, I teach people practices for healing and, those sorts of things as well. And I think it's really about listening to your intuition about what you need. So as an example, when we were on that Lionsgate tour, we stopped at a place called Kubapidi, and there's a labyrinth, and it's called the Wellness Labyrinth. And so we all drove out there, and once we got there, it was like everyone just kind of go and do your own thing, have your own private space, walk this labyrinth, and whatever that means to you. And so as I walked into the labyrinth, I thought, okay, wellness labyrinth, what's here for me? And so I just kind of asked the question, and I got a sense of that I could rebalance a lot in my energy field as I walked this labyrinth. It was quite big, so it took a bit of time. And so I said, okay, well, show me how to do this. because, I'm just going to trust the process. And I felt like I was literally guided to go, okay, so just rub this point here. And then, and as I was walking and I was just listening to what I was told to do and, stretching that. And by the time I got to the very center, my back had cracked in like 8 places. And it was like, oh, well, that's pretty good. Because I'd been sleeping in different beds and all sorts, different pillows, everything, all that way. And I was feeling a bit uncomfortable and a bit out of place. So I literally just listened and moved and poked and rubbed and all that sort of thing. And by the time I got there, it was like, wow, that made a huge difference. So again, yeah. And I think to me, it's just all those little daily things. If we listen to the guidance, ask the question, what can I do to improve my health right now? And just follow that in each moment, or my situation or my finances or whatever it might be. And yeah, trust that process and go with it. Every little bit of that is just raising your energy, your frequency. And to me, that's what healing is. Every little thing that raises your vibration, keeps your frequency in that higher state, is so much further away from illness and sadness and, that, those lower vibrational things that we don't want. So
Wow.
listening daily maybe is the answer.
Yeah, listening, tuning in, being present.
Yeah.
Now, I said in it, is there anything else that you'd like to include? And you talk about trauma healing, you talk about healing, land healing, vibration frequency, healing. So what's your, if you're allowed to share your wisdom with my audience, what's your takeaway, that if they could take something away, what would that be? Hayley?
I guess it's got to be this, how do we listen to our intuition? Because that's that higher part of ourselves that is not just that base 3D, eat food, create energy, expend it. So that higher part of ourselves, and some people call this universal energy, some people call it gods. There's so many different things that we could, names that we could use, but essentially it's how do we deeply connect with that high source energy that we have within ourselves. And often people ask me the question, how do you get your intuition to be stronger? How do you just ask the question and get an answer, that kind of thing? And I'm going to say the answer is heal the stuff that's blocking you. Because every single person is capable of seeing these things, hearing these things, like, as I mentioned, I was born with that clairvoyant sense. So I could see the ghosty stuff, the energies, but I couldn't hear it. I didn't just have that knowing. I didn't have the other senses that other people had. And I used to watch others who were very in tune with those other clairs. And I used to look at them and I think, I want that. I want to ask a question and just hear the answer. And that just seemed so easy to me, because often you see a picture or an image and you've got to decipher, what does that mean? Whereas if you just hear the word, especially if you're sharing it with someone else, you just go, oh, the word's this. That just looks so easy. So I thought, I want that. And so that process began for me at 16. So I've been doing this a long time. Daily meditations, but I think it really took off once I learned how to clear the past blockages, the distortions in your energy field, the traumas that you've inherited or, that have happened, etc. Because they're all of the blockages that are kind of holding you there where you're at. And so bit by bit, if you can release and let those go, you can move forward in I always use the word higher frequency, a better vibration. And so when we're in that high frequency state, that's when we can hear clearly. That's when we can see the information that we need, etc. So yeah, I think that's kind of the bottom line of it, is a lot of people don't want to do their shadow work, and shadow work's become a bit of a buzzword, and so it gets pushed aside. But it really just means that, you asked me about triggers, what triggers me, well, anytime there's something triggers me, I've got work to do around that. It's triggered me because there's something unhealed in me that's making me reactive to that thing. And if I don't heal it, it's going to keep on coming until I finally do acknowledge that. I mean, so I had cancer. I had so many different things that were unacknowledged. And when I finally did and worked through those and cleared those, then I'm not sick anymore. So, you know, that really is kind of the bottom line of that, is what's holding you back. Clear that. The shadow stuff, the stuff we reject, the stuff we don't love about ourselves. Face it, heal it, and then you'll be free and back in flow again. So I know that sounds really simple. It does take work, but the concept is simple. Concept is very simple.
Yeah, I always say the chaos brings growth.
It does, 100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So how did a 16-year-old start healing herself?
It began for me. My mum and dad were always into physical health, you know, fitness and eating well and those kind of things. So I had a little bit of that background there. One night, mum said to me, I'm going to go to a yoga class you know, do you want to come? And it was just not far down the road. So I went along and I did the yoga, and I've got to admit, I didn't really love the yoga. I understand the benefit of it, but I didn't really love it. But at the end, there was 10 minutes of meditation. And she started by just guiding us through the first couple of minutes, and then off we went on our own. And I loved it. I was hooked. I wanted to go back to yoga every night just for that 10 minutes at the end. And it opened a door for me. And so that's when I started going, I want to read about meditation. You know, what happens for other people when they meditate? Because to me, there was this massive story would unfold every night of this information that I'd think, where did this come from? That's beautiful. It's so it all stemmed from there. And then I became super obsessed with the books. I think I read every book in our little local town library at the time that had anything to do with past life experiences or near-death experiences or mediumship or, you know, meditation, anything like that. So it really was like the tap just turned on, and I couldn't help myself but need to know more. And it never stopped, you know, even.
So you're a sponge.
Totally.
And to
From
just
that
take
point
it all
on.
in.
Yeah.
Wow. And 16. That's brilliant. But, you know, you said right from the word go, you could see clairaudience. So, yeah. Wow. Thank you very, very much, Hayley, for sharing and being so open and honest and raw. And I just am so grateful for your time. And I just look forward to the ripple effect going out there of your words of wisdom and how it's going to help my audience. So thank you
Beautiful.
very
Thank
much.
you, Julie. Yeah, I appreciate the offer to come and have a chat with you. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be in touch again because I'm interested about this business healing that you said. So we'll have to do that and then also dig deeper in time to come to see what unfolds. And because I feel like our relationship is ever going on. Yeah. So
Beautiful. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you for sharing this moment with us. And I hope something in this conversation stays with you and opens something up in you or simply made you feel seen. If this episode moved you, feel free to share it with someone who might need it too. And if you'd like to continue the journey with us, be sure to subscribe and stay connected. Until next time, take care of your heart and remember, your story matters. Thank you, Hayley.
Thank you, Julie. Appreciate it.